YOUTeacH for X webinar workshop series on the teaching of contemporary arts in the region, special session for the youth. This project is made possible by the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, YOUTeacH Philippines, YOUTeacH Philippines Negros Island, in partnership with the following organizations: the Negros Museum, Hope Builders Organization, and Tahod La Carlota. This project has come a long way since its in of 2019, and now for its second run on a digital platform this year of 2020. And with this, we are looking forward for more fruitful webinar workshop sessions with all of you in the next succeeding couple of months. And to set the ball in motion, first up is our orientation and some house rules to be given to us by Sir Sandro Yulatic, the project lead and secretariat in charge muna ng YOUTeacH Negros Island, and for project Tib-ong Manunudlo. Sir Sandro, good morning.
Morning, Sir Dab. Good morning, participants. I will share my screen so that I can have the orientation. Okay. Again, good morning, participants. For our orientation, I will be the one to give so that we will know what to do during the workshop. Okay. First is our webinar guidelines. Please join our webinar 15 to 30 minutes early to minimize the last minute issue. So before we start our webinar or workshop, and in the succeeding days, participants are encouraged to join our room 15 to 20 minutes before the workshop so that we can troubleshoot any difficulties that we encounter during the session. Then, during the webinar, sounds and visual, as attendee, you can mute or unmute your audio and virtually raise your hands and send message to others. Please note that some attendee controls won't be available if disabled by the host. So the host may control your sound so that if there is a time that the speaker is speaking and there is a disruption during the session, so the host might mute your audio so that you cannot disturb any program or session during webinar workshop. And then if we have some audio issue, your audio setting and your computer and speakers, or maybe sometimes audio problem is caused by a internet disruption. And during the webinar, if you have some question to the speaker, you can type the question related to the content of the presenter at the chat box that we can find here in the Google Meet, and then so that the moderator can acknowledge your question and ask the speaker the final question and answer. And then during the webinar also, we encourage the participants to wear smart casual attire, so that if we ask you to open your video cam so that we can see you, it's look more presentable for the speaker. So YOUTeacH Negros Island will use the various channels of social media to report on the webinar. That's why instead of we are using now the Google Meet to to encourage the youth to join because Zoom meeting may not be available for some youth participants. And also, if you have some question regarding the webinar workshop and to know more about the YOUTeacH Negros Island, kindly visit the https www.facebook.com/YOUTeacH for our Facebook webpage. And if you are going to post any picture or comment or feelings regarding the webinar workshop, kindly use the following hashtags. Hashtag YOUTeacH for X and hashtag Tib-ong Manunudlo.
Ayan, thank you very much, Sir Sandro, for giving to us the house rules, no? And as well as a little bit of orientation kung ano yung mangyayari in the next 4 days. And yung session natin or yung group natin is a small group lang naman, no? So this is a very intimate workshop na mangyayari for the next 4 days. So ayan, no, dahil nagmo-multitask ang organizing team today, Sir Sandro again will come back and give to us yung short program rationale lang, no, ng Tib-ong Manunudlo. Paano siya na inceptionalize and then paano siya na implement at yung story behind, no, the project. Ayan, Sir Sandro.
Okay, good morning again, guys. I will just share about the background of the Tib-ong Manunudlo workshop. Why it is being here in the digital platform. Bakit siya naitatag yung Tib-ong Manunudlo na workshop? Noon, yung una talagang workshop na ginawa namin with Sir Gab is the YOUTeacH for X series na workshop ng YOUTeacH Philippines with the YOUTeacH for local heritage. And then during that time, we are planning to conduct another workshop for the following year. That was year 2017, I think, Sir Gab, the YOUTeacH for local heritage. Correct? And then,
Tama.
And then the following year, we have planned for another YOUTeacH for local heritage, YOUTeacH for X series na workshop. But then, I have come up with some idea that what if we will help the teachers of the senior high school, because 2017 is the year where nag-start where the senior high school program ng DepEd ay nagsimula rin na umusbong. And then, naging senior high school teacher din ako sa high school at napansin ko na yung mga teacher na pinatuturo sa senior high school, iba yung subject na kanilang pinagseminaran during the start of the senior high school program, and then pag-assign na sa kanila sa school kung saan sila magtuturo, ay iba rin yung subject na ituturo nila. At nakita ko na may kakulangan sa pagtuturo ng contemporary Philippine arts. At nakita ko rin na may posibleng mangyari na makakuha kami ng grant sa NCCA para makahanap kami ng mga tao pagtuturo ng arts sa mga contemporary Philippine arts teacher na hindi kami na may magbabayad para sa amin through the Speakers Bureau grant ng NCCA. And then imbes na mag-YOUTeacH for X series kami, nagawa na namin yung Tib-ong Manunudlo workshop. Yung first na Tib-ong Manunudlo workshop ay nangyari noong nakaraang taon, year 2019, wherein yung workshop ay intended talaga para sa mga contemporary Philippine arts teachers. kung nangyari, nagkaroon ng visual art workshop, dance workshop, at creative writing workshop noong 2019. At later on, ipapakita yan ni Sir Gab sa i-present na niya yung YOUTeacH Negros Island. And then, ngayong taon, bakit nagkaroon tayo ng digital platform na webinar workshop? Kasi actually, nung April, yung April bago mag-pandemic, ay na-approve ulit para sa Tib-ong Manunudlo na Speakers Bureau. So, supposed to be, i-run ito noong April. Kaso, nagkaroon ng COVID, pandemic, so na-postpone yung Tib-ong Manunudlo na workshop. Pero yung plano talaga namin sa Tib-ong Manunudlo workshop noong April ay ganito. Magkakaroon ng 3 art workshop ng visual art, dance, at saka creative writing. At the same time, ipapasok na namin yung youth development. Kasi yung plano talaga namin sana ni Sir Gab ay magkakaroon ng provincial bootcamp ng YOUTeacH dito sa Negros. Kaso, hindi namin ma-materialize pa. So yung ginawa namin, ipapasok sana namin noong April yung youth development sa Tib-ong Manunudlo. Parang mini bootcamp ng YOUTeacH Philippines. So, ang nangyari, yun nga, nagka-pandemic, so hindi na naman namin na ituloy yung aming plano. So, later on, hanggang sa nakarating na nung August at binigyan kami ng parang ultimatum ng NCCA na kailangan na namin ituloy yung Tib-ong Manunudlo na workshop. So, ang nangyari, from face-to-face na workshop, pinagplanuhan na lang namin at ginawa naming webinar workshop. Kaya naituloy namin yung Tib-ong Manunudlo na workshop this month with the Art Beats of Visual Arts na workshop noong September 9 to 12. At saka yung last week, September 17 to 20, nagkaroon ng dance workshop at story writing and storytelling workshop. So ganun pa rin. Visual arts, creative writing, at saka yung dance para sa mga contemporary Philippine arts teacher. At saka ngayong linggo, tuloy yung youth development with Sir Gab na workshop. So, although kahit konti lang yung participants ngayon, sana tuloy-tuloy. At saka yung ibang participant na nakapag-register na hindi ngayon, sana makarating mamayang hapon o kaya bukas. At sana sa mga nandito ay tuloy-tuloy tayo hanggang sa linggo at sana marami kayong matutunan sa workshop na ito. Actually, hindi lang ako project lead ngayon. Isa rin ako sa magiging participants ni Sir Gab. Kasi although naging member ako ng YOUTeacH Negros Island na bilang ni Sir Gab, pero hindi pa ako kumbaga sa reliyon pa, hindi pa ako bautisado. Kasi hindi pa ako nakaranas ng bootcamp at hindi pa ako nakaranas ng project aviation at workshop ng YOUTeacH. So kung natuloy yung workshop nung April, isa rin ako sa participants ng magiging youth development. Although lampas na ako sa youth age kasi 32 na ako, pero sinasabi ko talaga kay Sir Gab, according sa United Nations, 35 yung youth. So, may 3 taon pa ako. Sa Philippines lang hanggang 30 youth. So, participants, welcome dito sa webinar workshop at sana tuloy-tuloy tayong lahat at kasama niyo ako na magiging participant dito. Sir Gab?
Ayan, thank you very much, Sir Sandro. Ayan, binigay ni Sir Sandro yung parang the whole story, yung whole meat ng story kung paano na-conceptualize yung project Tib-ong Manunudlo, yung struggles at saka yung processes din na ginawa ng team, no? And today we're very fortunate na mapaunlakan yung ating invitation for a very special person din, no, sa group ng YOUTeacH Philippines. So at this point, I will now be introducing our keynote speaker for this plenary session. He is currently an Education Program Specialist 2 under the School Health Division of the Bureau of Learner Support Services ng Department of Education. He is an esteemed educator, guro din po siya, a youth leader nung kabataan po niya, pero hanggang ngayon pinagpatuloy pa din niya, and the founder ng YOUTeacH Philippines, nung national network ng YOUTeacH Philippines. Ayan, so participants, Sir Sandro, I give to you Mr. Gian, Erik, Adao. Good morning, Kuya Gian.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Sir Sandro. Pareho po tayo na graduate na sa youth sa definition ng Philippines. Pero I agree with you na sa UN hanggang 35 in selected countries. Ayan, so kumusta kayo? Natutuwa ako hearing si Sir Sandro kanina. It's really inspiring na marinig na there are YOUTeachers already all over the Philippines. As I finish my part of the session, you'll realize na maganda, talagang process lang din yung pag-go through nung bootcamp, yung bautismo na sinasabi ni Sir Sandro. Pero later, when we go through the principles, yung laging sinasabi ni Gab na naririnig nyo siguro, yung EAC-DNA, makikita natin na everyone can be a YOUTeacher. Every young teacher who teaches ay by the core ay pwedeng maging YOUTeacher. Yeah. So, thank you Gab for this opportunity. Gusto ko sana makita yung mga faces ng iba nating kasama, pero I understand na pag nag-video yata nagkakaroon ng internet connectivity issues, no. So, hi Christian, Shira D, Piano, and then sino si Ma'am Dremy Works? Ma'am, inasyon po ma'am, no? Si Dremy Works.
Sir Remy po. Sir Remy.
Hi Sir Remy. Ayan. So, hello sa inyo. Ang inassign sa akin ni Gab was to deliver a keynote message. But as I was drafting an action message, I realized, given the topic na infusing the EAC-DNA in youth leadership, I thought na mas appropriate na hindi lang siya keynote. Kasi in a way, yung sinasabi ni Sir Gab na bootcamp, there is a tool at the heart of the bootcamp. It's called the Launchpad. So in the next 45 minutes, if it's okay, instead of an actual keynote, we will have a very little taste of the Launchpad. Yeah. So a 30-minute or a 45-minute max experience of the Launchpad. So let me share my screen. Yan, pero bago yan, ay nagkuha ko kanina ng greeting supposedly in Hiligaynon, kaya lang na-delete ko pala yung notepad. Sorry. But I wanted to greet you in the local language. Napipit ko kasi si Gab, very champion talaga siya ng local culture and All right, so let me share with you the EAC-DNA on youth leadership amidst the pandemic. What I will be sharing is much really about the EAC-DNA, pero if we will think about it, hindi lang siya applicable during the pandemic. Regardless of the situation, we have platforms through which we can demonstrate or express this EAC-DNA. Yan, katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, at the core of the bootcamp na kinikwento ni Sir Sandro is the use of the Launchpad. This is a process that young teachers go through as part of the initiation to the YOUTeacH as a movement, as a network. This is a literal pad. It's a tool that offers a collaborative process of generating potential project ideas guided by principles espoused and promoted by YOUTeacH Philippines. When we founded YOUTeacH, meron tayong tinatawag na YOUTeacH Charter. Basically, the charter put into an experiential activity, ito yung Launchpad. But more than just about launching projects, it's really about launching the people into their YOUTeacH journey. So you go through the Launchpad, you learn certain principles, you come up with project ideas, pero ang mas gusto nating makita, yung pag dinaanan mo yung proseso, katulad ng title na binigay ni Gab, ma-infuse sa atin yung EAC DNA. So what is this EAC DNA? Yan yung pag-uusapan. That's what I would like to share with you. So the Launchpad has two tools in particular, yung tinatawag na My Launchpad, parang it's your individual reflection tool. And then yung Our Launchpad, the idea is everyone has their own launchpads. Tapos you group with other fellow young teachers or young leaders, and then you share your different launchpads and you come up with your Our Launchpad, which is for group sharing. So what you will experience is at the minimum 30 minutes of an overview of this experience. So the full version, which makes use of a literal pad, Gab, natatabi mo pa yung pad mo. So I hope we can send over yung PDF. Pwede naman tong i-reproduce. But this is an entire workshop for young teachers and includes various videos na papanoorin, may worksheets, tapos ilang interactive activities. Yan, so if you may, if it's okay, kasi very intimate group naman tayo, let's just have let's have an experience of this. Ayan, pinapakita pala ni Gab yung kanyang pad. Yan, so allow me to share with you the experience. So kindly, if you have parang kung meron kayo dyang paper na hawak, pwede ninyong i-fold lang into 3. And then yung pinaka-rightmost side, pwede tayong magsulat lang as we go through this. Pwede kayong mag-notes and to just experience the process. So YOUTeacH exists primarily to help young teachers to create a network of young teachers who will help each other preserve their ideals and realize their dreams. We believe na ang young teachers or young leaders or people in general are always driven by their dreams. So we always want to begin our journey, our conversation with sharing of our dreams. Na-realize ko na hindi pala yun practice in the bureaucracy. When we meet, usually ang pag-uusapan natin, problema, isolve natin. Laging ganon. Or when we meet, ito merong memo galing sa taas, sa central office. Or pag laging merong something to do, something to discuss, something to solve. Yun yung mga usual kita tayo. But the EAC DNA begins with the sharing of dreams. We believe that we can always begin our journey with something positive and then work toward that. So we always want to begin our journey with sharing of dreams because dreams, in a way, dreams are positively phrased problem statements. So in the process of reaching your dreams, in effect, you are actually having your problems solved. So can I give you like one moment, just like a few minutes, just write any dream statement. Sa totoong workshop, we really devote time to share, to discuss, to draw. Meron pa tayo na parang magazine, gagawa ka ng cover. But I don't want to preempt the process if we go through niya siya later. But just write like any dream statement that you have personally, maybe related to the theme of this workshop, maybe related to your profession, to your volunteering work, or maybe related to your life in general. Pero be kind of specific with the dream that you have. So if it's okay, I would like to give you 1 to 2 minutes to write what you would consider as your one of your dreams. So please write a dream statement. right? And so sorry, this is supposed to be a keynote, pero nagmukha siyang workshop. But because I just really could not think of any other way to talk about the EAC-DNA without inviting you to this process. So feel free to type pala in the chat box your questions if you have any. Kung hindi ko man magawa ngayon na magkaroon ng interactive na exchanges of feedback. But so the idea is we begin our conversation with our dreams. We approach each other kasi we have shared dreams. So, for example, in my case, one of my dreams, especially in the field of in the education sector, is for every new and young teacher to be viewed as a gift to the school community. Na darating si young teacher and people are excited instead of the people feeling threatened. My dream is people seeing, wow, this is a potential that we can tap on. This is someone whose gifts we can maximize. Hindi naman para i-boost, like utilize lang. But the idea is this is a new member of the family that we can welcome. So that's the idea that's one of my dreams. So I will write that on this section of the launchpad, pero in your case, folded paper. Now, we realize na while it's good to talk about our dreams and to begin with our dreams, one of the realities is that kaya tayo nangangarap kasi wala pa tayo doon. Hindi natin pinapangarap yung mga bagay na nasa atin na. We dream of things that are still about to happen. So the thing is, this is our dream on one side, but the reality is we are still away from our dreams. How far, how near, we can only compute, we can think about that, pero it's not that we are already living our dreams mostly. So the idea is to look at where we are now. So this is the dream that we are in, and then this is the reality that we are in. Pero in assessing our reality, the EAC DNA is about looking at the reality as is without judging people. So we view that we are not each other's enemies. If people are in certain positions that we do not agree with, it's because they went through certain processes, certain formation, certain systems, or the lack of formation that brought them to the position that they are in at the moment. So we remind ourselves that regardless of what we see, regardless of how difficult it may seem, we are not each other's enemies. We are not against people. Yes, we can be against poverty, injustice, and ignorance, but we are not against people. People may have created the problem, but people are not the problem. And because it is people who created the problem, we can also engage people to be an essential part of the solution. So YOUTeacH to promote peace and collaboration amid a world marred by conflict and a system rigged for competition. So we look at reality na, sige, malayo pa tayo dito sa dream natin. So let's have an honest assessment, an honest look at what things are. So hindi naman tayo mabubuhay lang sa delusion na puro panaginip, puro pangarap na lang. So the EAC DNA also invites us to look around us and see the realities that we are in and verbalize them verbatim, describe them as is. Kasi without acknowledging that something is wrong, hindi rin naman natin ma-correct yun to lead us to our dreams. So for example, in my case, one of my dream statements is for school communities to see young and new teachers as a gift to their community. Kayo, what did you write on your papers? Yeah. So I actually, hindi kasi to workshop, pero if you can share them in the chat box, feel free to do so. Pero dun sa reality this time, I would like to give you a few moments then to contrast your dream and then your reality. So I'll give you some 1 to 2 minutes again to just think about the reality that you're in and reflect how far am I dun sa dream. Pero as you write the reality, be careful not to judge people as enemies. So describe your problem in a manner that focuses on the problem itself, not the people who created them. See, so let's spend some minutes of reflection looking at the reality we are in contrast to our dreams. Or if you have one dream statement, just write another reality statement or problem statement. Ayan. So, thank you kay Shira D. tsaka kay Sir Sandro, no, for sharing the dreams sa chat box. Ayan. So, nakita niyo yung difference nung feelings ninyo as you went through the process. Dreams brought all the energy, brought all the excitement. Pero how did it feel writing the realities? Di ba parang in a way makaka-feel ka rin ng frustration, ng parang disappointment, ng parang impatience na bakit nga no ang tagal mangyari ng gusto kong makita. But it's really important that we begin with the dreams. Kasi when we begin with the realities we're in, is yes, some people are able to be fueled by their frustration, pero yung energy that is needed for you to take off, manggagaling yun dun sa positive force ng dreams. But both are essential. Hindi tayo nabubuhay lang sa reality, hindi lang tayo nabubuhay lang sa dreams, but it's a balance of this. So thank you Sir Sandro, no, nag-share na si Sir Sandro sa chat box ng kanya ring reality. So this is so pwede nating yung sabi natin kanina, we are angling the reality statement sa perspective ng problem per se. So tingnan natin ito. Ayan. So in sa YOUTeacH, dun sa launchpad process, one of the things that we do before we finalize this part of the launchpad is we rewrite realities. Kasi it will affect how you approach your reality kung paano mo siya tinitingnan. So for example, my dream earlier is for young and new teachers to be perceived by school communities as a gift to the community. And you are, actually, tingnan nyo na lang si Gab, si Sir Sandro, di ba? We are gifts. Actually, everyone is a gift, essentially. Pero particularly for young and new teachers. So my problem statement would be, one of the problems I would see, or in terms of my reality, is that new teachers are often overwhelmed by the challenges of the education sector, which they are often unprepared for as education majors. Kasi puro theory din naman yung tinuturo sa atin, very idealistic. Di naman tinuturo sa atin yung attitude ng mga kasama sa trabaho, pero ituturo sa atin ang theory on how to work well with people. So despite the efforts na magkaroon ng mga immersion, etc., sometimes new teachers are often overwhelmed. But this is one way to write the reality. But we encourage in EAC DNA is an invitation to rewrite realities so that when we approach it, mas magiging positive yung action natin. So how can we rewrite this reality? The invitation is to start with the question, how might we? So i-rephrase mo lang yung reality in a manner that is more action-oriented, more proactive. So in this case, for example, instead of saying new teachers are overwhelmed, we rephrase it and say, how might we prepare education majors so that they are not overwhelmed by the challenges of the education sector when they become new teachers? So nakita natin yung phrasing na from being overwhelmed to preparing them. So in a few minutes, you wrote your realities, di ba? One, my invitation is make sure you write your realities na nakafocus dun sa situation rather than, katulad ng sabi natin kanina, assessment or judgment of people. So instead of saying na, Sir Sandro, gawin kong example yung sa'yo if it's okay, no? So instead of saying na, some teachers view new teachers as competitors. So we can rephrase it as there is a very high culture of competition or an unhealthy, pwede natin i-describe yung competition, there is an unhealthy competition among teachers. So that's different. If i-frame natin siya, una, we frame the problem statement from the perspective focusing on the problem rather than the people. Plus, next step, i-rewrite natin siya into a statement of opportunity. So let me give you a few minutes. Kasi ito, sa totoong workshop, we do this with discussion, with sharing, with selection, with brainstorming. But because this is supposed to be a keynote, and I just want you to go through the process and the principles. Just write one statement and then rewrite natin siya into a statement of opportunity. All right, so if it's okay, I would like to give you 1 to 2 minutes again to rewrite your problem statement into a statement of opportunity. Okay, so kumusta? Ayan, so babalik na rin lang natin yung problem statement into a statement of opportunity. If we view the situation, the reality we are in as a problem to be solved, yes, it's challenging. Pero if you view it as an opportunity to take advantage of, it's inspiring. So we're not saying that one is better than another, pero when it comes to the EAC DNA, ganun natin ina-approach yung reality natin. Okay, so rephrase lang, and then that becomes your statement of opportunity. Going back dun sa canvas natin for the launchpad, so nag-start tayo sa dream, and then reality that we're in. Ano ngayon? Do we get stuck in the reality that we're in? Do we just wait for the day to end and say, okay, just another day in my life? Or maybe we can look around us, or at least begin with looking within us and realize that there's something that we can do. There's something that we can that's something that we have in us that we can use to take us off the reality we are in toward the dream that we have together. So that's a focus on the strengths. So in YOUTeacH, the EAC DNA is about believing that everybody has strengths and weaknesses. Nobody is absolutely her strength or just his weakness. Sometimes we have the tendency to be overwhelmed by the weakness that a person possesses, na nagagamit natin siya to become an adjective for people, na sino yan si ganitong teacher, yung impatient na teacher na yan. But we want to view people, we want to view others, even our own selves, as a combination of strengths and weaknesses. So you teach to build a community where people are aware of their weaknesses. It's one thing din naman to be just totally parang strength focused, na hindi ka na naging aware na may weakness ka pala. That's a terrible weakness to have. Pero we are able to focus on our own strengths and on the strengths of others. So yan yung EAC DNA. We look at co-teachers, and despite the weaknesses na meron tayo na very apparent maybe, or tayo mismo sa sarili natin, we will go deeper and look into our strengths. So the launchpad process begins with the story of our dream, and then this is the reality that we're in. Pero look within and realize that you have strengths inside of you. And there are two types of strengths that we look into in in the launchpad, and they are the skills or the competencies, and then the core values or strengths of character. So your strengths, lahat tayo meron naman mga positive, meron tayong talents, skills, qualities, experiences, expertise, capacities for leadership, and different ways on how we can, yung mga technical skills, so to speak. And at the same time, we have these non-technical strengths, which are our core values. And these are your non-negotiables. So the next phase in the launchpad is, and for you to para ma-infuse yung EAC DNA is an inventory, an awareness of your strengths as a person. Tapos later on, when we merge our strengths together, your strengths as a group, and makita natin how we can maximize yung mga strengths na yun when put together. Yeah, so we have limited time. So just as you listen to me, I invite you to just write down strengths dun sa paper. So we fold natin siya into three, di ba? So one panel on the rightmost is your dream, and then reality. At the middle, at the bottom, just write your strengths. Pero as you write, isulat mo muna yung mga skills mo dun sa pinakailalim. Tapos sa ibabaw natin ilagay yung core values, yung mga strengths of character. Personally, what I believe, I hope, na isa ko talagang core value is the value for human life. And that means from conception to natural death. And that's one of the things that I consider as my non-negotiables, na whatever I do, whatever policies yung, alam na pag na-assign na ako to draft policies sa DepEd, to help draft policies, this will always manifest na, hey, some of these provisions might be hindi masyado, may tendency to be abused, for example, against a person's human life. So yun, magma-manifest yun. So what are your core values? Be aware of these things. Yeah, so can I invite you for a few minutes lang ulit, just write down what you consider as your strengths, your competencies, your core values. And I'll give you a few minutes. 1 to 2 minutes ulit. Sulat nyo lang siya sa middle, lower part. Sa pinakailalim yung mga skills, and then sa bandang ibabaw nung lower part of the paper, yung inyong core values. Ayan. So, I hope nakapagsulat na kayo, no? One of the things that we emphasize then when we do this exercise, when we did this exercise, at least dun sa bootcamp, is the idea that we are not in the monopoly of the truth about our strengths. There are times that we do not realize that it's other people who see our strengths, tas hindi tayo aware na strength pala natin yon. So we invite people to do this, and Gab, may 45 minutes na naman ako for this, no? So hingi pa ako ulit ng 2 minutes ninyo. Kindly post on your Facebook at this moment. Open a new tab, go to your Facebook, maybe post as a status, or message friends and family and colleagues. Tanungin nyo lang siya, what do you think are my strengths? And let's wait for comments, for answers from your colleagues, from your friends, and ilagay natin siya dun sa ating canvas. So the idea is we do not know, sometimes we are not aware of our strengths. Pero at the end of the day, whatever people say, if filter pa rin naman natin yan. Some would say, ay alam mo magaling ka talagang kumanta, pero aware ka naman talaga na hindi at parang binobola ka lang. So don't put it in your inventory of strengths. Pero when other people say something and lots of people are saying the same, you can put it down na, oh man, no, maybe this is something that is true about me. So I invite you for 1 minute, just do this exercise, and when we have the time, balikan nyo na lang yung canvas later. So I'll give you some moment to do this. Yan. So habang ginagawa nyo to, na-appreciate ko yung mga comments. Ang ganda niyang ang ganda niyang totohanin na workshop, yung mga comments ninyo sa chat box. So yung isang yung isang problem statement ni Christian, teachers are being stretched to teach subjects beyond their major. One way to approach that is to go deeper. Why is that happening? And then i-reverse siya as an opportunity. Pero even at this level, pwede rin naman natin siyang i-reverse as an opportunity. Like, kung wala tayong magagawa at the moment, then how might we, for example, enable teachers who are being asked to teach things beyond their major to do it in a manner na hindi detrimental sa kanilang sariling health as a teacher or sa kanilang career, sa kanila bilang professional, but at the same time, hindi pa rin magsasuffer yung quality of learning nasa mga learners. So that's one way to do it. Sorry, I'm talking about a previous input, pero at this moment, focus lang on the strengths. Nakikita ko kasi yung sa comments. Alright, so kunyari nakuha nyo na yung mga comments, na ilagay nyo na rin yung strengths ninyo, and you can do this later, you can continue this later. One of the things that we do next is we share with each other kung ano yung mga strengths natin. Kaya natin differentiate that our strengths are two types, yung skills and then yung strengths of character is that when we approach people, may effect kasi when we put our strengths together. When we add our competencies, our skills, ang product nito, ang sum nito is sum of competencies. So we just have a total of the strengths that we have. Ano yung sinasabi ko? When you put together 10 people na may iba-ibang talent, may magaling mag-drawing, magaling magsulat, magaling mag-drawing, magsulat, and kumanta, ang kalalabasan niyan, when you put them together, maybe is a music video kasi pinagsama-sama mo yung mga talents nila and all their talents are useful. The difference of core values is that these are your non-negotiables individually. So when you put them together, ang importante dito is hindi yung sum of all the values kasi unique nga yung iba doon, but an identification of your shared core values. So the EAC DNA is about approaching people and identifying what are the strengths that we can put together But before we do that, what are our shared values? Kasi otherwise, if meron tayong non-negotiables na parang conflicting talaga, the strengths of skills, the skills, the competencies won't merge. So importante yung strengths of character ay shared din natin. But here's the thing, hindi lahat kapareho natin ng core value. But there is always a way to find a core value initially. So what we do next, when we go to the next part, doon magiging relevant yung strengths natin, yung core values. So the last part of the launchpad canvas, so balikan lang natin yung storyline. We begin with the dreams. This is my dream. Versus ito yung reality that I am in. Ito pa yung sitwasyon na meron ako. And we describe it in a manner that does not judge people but focuses on the situation. Plus, we state it as an opportunity to inspire us, not as a problem to frustrate us. And then we look within. Sige, ito man yung realidad na meron ako. I have strengths. I can do something. But the next key message is that we don't do it alone. So the EAC DNA is about identifying people we can work with. So YOUTeacH to build a movement that promotes conversation and allows people to think freely. So whether you are a teacher from a Catholic school or a teacher who pushes for secularization, there is space for both of you to be together. And there is room for everyone. There's no judging. There's no militant converting. But ito yung important. We commit to an ongoing journey of evidence-based discourse and discovery that still always honors where the other is coming from. Because as humans, there surely are lots of things that we can agree on. So that's the EAC DNA. Yung halimbawa, i-approach natin yung isang tao, bakit ba hindi ko talaga kami mag-agree sa bagay na to? But when you sit down and you enter into a conversation, pareho palang may hugot. Tapos pag nag-meet kayo at the middle, you will realize, meron din pala tayong something common na pwedeng pag-focusan. When we did this launchpad exercise, so you just begin with identifying muna all that you know, whether it's individuals or groups, and identify what they do that is related to your dream. For example, in my case, I when it comes to new teachers, at nandito na ako sa DepEd, I could think of yung NAYAP natin sa DepEd because they're in charge of the teacher induction program. I can think of several individuals na very inspiring yung kanilang career in teaching na pwede nating itap. We can think of groups like, for example, Habi, they capitalize on think of design thinking and innovations kung paano yun magamit, which is inspiring for young teachers. So we just come up with a list of the people that we know. Pero we don't put them all in the canvas. We don't work with everyone just because we know them. The next step in the process, share ko lang yung activity, is that we do some face-to-face. Then, for example, imagine nyo na lang ito, you meet someone, magkaiba kayo ng preference sa TV, yung isa ka puso, yung isa ka pamilya. Pag nawala na palang kapamilya. Yung isa, ito yung kanyang preference, ito yung position niya, yung isa, totally against. So the invitation is set that aside for a while and try to enumerate as many areas as possible that you share in common. That is the EAC DNA. We find areas where we can agree on because that's the only way we can move forward. We can work together. But the next step is we weigh the partnerships. We weigh the collaborations that we are in. The area where we disagree about, the areas where we don't have a common agreement, these are areas for communication. Yan yung mga area kung saan kailangan nating mag-usap. And we cannot move to areas of collaboration until we are over the areas of communication. But the message is we keep people in either rows. Kung hindi talaga tayo mag-agree, hindi talaga nagmamatch yung ating core values, bibitawan kita, quote-unquote, pero that also means I will put you in the area of communication. When we engage, we can talk. Maybe we cannot collaborate for now, but we can continue to communicate. That's the EAC. That's part of the EAC DNA. So you ask yourself, does communication work? Kung against ito sa akin, kung meron siyang core values na hindi ko sinishare, does communication work? If it does, then we move to area of collaboration. But if it does not work yet, then iwan natin siya sa area of communication. So I talked to you about my personal core value of loving, respecting human life. One of the people, for example, that I keep at the area of communication is the area in the areas of communication are those who belong to the tobacco industry. Bukod sa may batas tayo na bawal tayong makipag-collaborate with them, FCTC sa WHO, and then sa Civil Service Commission, bawal yon. Bukod doon, hindi kami nag-share ng values about human life because they produce products that kill people. So in my case, I will keep communicating to people in the tobacco industry about my position that I'm in, that we should not be creating products that destroy lives. But I leave them at that. Hindi kami magko-collaborate. Pero if there's a chance to convince them to stop producing tobacco, then we can proceed with our collaboration. So that's the idea of weighing partnerships. So when you go back to your parang working table, identify mo which of these people yung meron kaming area of collaboration. If I have extra resources, ituloy natin yung communication para mapunta sila sa area of collaboration. Pero kung we have limited resources, doon na lang tayo sa area of collaboration. Wag na hayaan muna natin sila na hindi muna natin sila makausap, hindi natin sila ma-onboard. But it's okay. We have people in the areas of collaboration. Yan. So basically, that's the launchpad process. So kunyari, meron na kayong time to just think about the people who you can work with. Ilalagay mo lang dyan yung iyong those who can be part of your network, yung nag-share sa'yo ng core values. So remember earlier, I mentioned that when you write in this canvas, to just focus on, ilagay yung pinakang skills of character on top, so something like this. Remember, so here at the bottom, you write your skills, and then dito yung shared core values lang. Ang ililista mo lang ngayon dito at the people you can work with are those that share this. Regardless kung marami silang strengths, pero kung hindi mo kapareho ng core values, it's okay. Leave them at the area of communication. So this is basically the launchpad process. And I hope sa simpleng process na dinaanan ninyo in your sheet of paper, nakabuo kayo ng isang mini canvas na kunyari, this is your dream of seeing teachers collaborating with each other, promoting culture, etc. The reality is merong very rigid competition, pero yung maganda nung in-restate na siya ni Sir kanina, Sir Sandro, how might we develop a culture of collaboration? And then what are your strengths, Sir Sandro? What are your skills and then your values? Then you do the same with people you can work with and identify yung mga bagay-bagay. Essentially, you can convert this in these three parts into gears. So yung first part, the reality that we are in, these are opportunities. Yung strengths, so these are our strengths. Yung people we can work with, this is our collaborators. And if you think about this, these are like gears. You can start anywhere. Pwede ka mag-start sa opportunity that you have and then go with it. Work with others, use your strengths. Or you can begin with the strength that you have. Magaling kang magluto, cook food, and use it to address an opportunity and work with others to prepare food maybe, to share to your co-teachers. Nauna yung collaborator, dumating si ganitong opportunity, grab it and then use your strengths to add to it and then find some opportunity to address. Walang single entry point. But the thing is, when these gears work together, they propel you closer to your dream. And basically, this is the YOUTeacH EAC DNA that Gab has always been telling you and has been practicing himself. The opportunities are the things that, the strengths are the things that we elevate, the opportunities are the things that we advocate for, and of course, we collaborate with others too. And when we let these things inspire us and um, motivate us and propel us, it will always be a step, a movement closer to our dream. So that basically, yun, kaya sinasabi ko kay Gab, when he asked me to prepare a keynote, I'm not sure if we can share the EAC DNA through a keynote. So I wanted to invite you to go through the process kahit sobrang ikli lang. So that's the EAC of YOUTeacH. We believe that youth is power. There's so much potential in our young people, in our young teachers. But we acknowledge that youth is not forever. Katulad ng sinabi ni Sir kanina, no, we are, although the youth, sometimes youth does not have to mean age. So in that sense, it will last. Pero it's a reality na eventually we get married, we become parents, we have yung nagma-masters na tayo, doctorate as we grow older. So talagang merong parts of our youth that will not be there forever. But there is always a way that we can connect with each other and maximize our youth, that we are a powerful force. We can do something. We can invest in our creativity, in our innovation, in our idealism, and use them and capitalize them. And how do we do this? Through the EAC. Yun yung sinasabi natin kanina na as we went through the launchpad, these are the things that we elevate, advocate, and collaborate. Yeah, so these are from the YOUTeacH charter. But let me just end with this. I was introduced earlier as the founder of YOUTeacH. Honestly, hindi ko pa talaga ma-embrace yun, Gab, sorry. Pero syempre, co-founders naman tayo. But maybe the more appropriate term na mas kaya kong tanggapin is I'm a finder, a finder of YOUTeacH. What we discovered when we organized the first bootcamp, and excited ako na magkaroon ng local bootcamps. What we realized is that YOUTeacH is not a new concept. EAC is not a new DNA that you create, that you initiate. It's already existing in the hearts of many young teachers and young leaders like Sir Sandro, like Gab, like you, who are in this small group we are in, and like in this 70 plus teachers that we put together during the bootcamp. And what I realized is I did not really found a network, but I found people who are already possessing this EAC DNA. And kailangan lang talaga nating i-remind yung isa't isa to live it out, to cultivate it, and to network with each other to live it out. So let me just say na, although limited pa tong picture, I medyo may goosebumps ako kanina hearing Sir Sandro that the network is expanding. Although at the national level, the core is some sort of in a hiatus in terms of activities. What we realize is that the network is alive in the lives of the young teachers who are in the regions, in the field. Maybe we are not always organizing activities because the EAC DNA is not about organizing activities or ideating projects. It's a part of it. But much of the EAC DNA manifests in our daily teaching, in our daily reporting to work, in our interaction with fellow young teachers, offline and online. That's where the EAC DNA manifests most of the time. I hope that we do not reduce it into an ideation process, although it is partly, but it's really about how you teach, how you live, how you interact with others. I myself do not say that I always manifest it. Ako mismo sometimes nag-fail dun sa idea of collaborating. Sometimes it's easier to be carried away by your emotion kapag very heated na yung argument. But you go back to your core, you go back to your DNA and remind yourself. Sometimes it's not actually enough to remind yourself. You need another person reminding you. And sometimes I see this in the comment section on Facebook. A fellow young teacher reminding another young teacher, hey, we're going beyond this is not how you teach. So magre-remind siya, let's go back to our core. Let's sit down on the table and let's discuss. So I hope in this very short process na excite kayo on what the Launchpad is about, what the EAC DNA is about. But I hope that you also find it in the many tools that you will go through, my bridging leadership, etc. These are common in the many tools, existing tools already. So I hope that you can cultivate the EAC DNA that is already in you, and find other people who will help, who will co-cultivate yung EAC DNA na to, so that this manifests in our work, in our lives, and as we teach, as we lead. So thank you very much, Gab, and thank you very much, YOUTeacH Negros, and everyone who is part of this webinar.
Ayan, thank you very much, Kuya Gian. No? I'm listening very attentively. Ayan. Nare-review ako tuloy dun sa EACDNA at lahat ng mga parts ng Launchpad. No? Goosebumps din, no? Kanina pa, actually, yung goosebumps. Anyway, maraming salamat, Kuya Gian, sa pagpapaunlak sa amin for, di ba, for taking the time really to be here with us dahil alam namin na you are very busy there at the central office, lahat ng mga things na kailangan pang gawin. And hopefully yung bootcamp na minimension ni Sir Sandro ay magawa namin ng paraan, kahit man lang, kahit virtual, ano. And then, ang dami pa kasing plano, Kuya Gia, no, regarding the expansion. And we have been really talking about that whenever the entire group is together, kahit na virtual man yan, at kahit before the pandemic, and we are really doing these conversations over coffee. Ayan. Maybe siguro meron pang mga areas na kailangan pang i-develop with the Negros Island Core, dahil yung iba din, yung ibang mga kasamahan ay very busy din sa trabaho, sa school, at sa mga iba't iba pang organizations na nililid nila at this point. Ayan. So hopefully, Kuya Gian, we could or our participants could embrace din yung EAC-DNA, at yan din yung aming pangarap, no, here sa Negros, na ma-expand pa yung network at marami pa tayong ma-convert ma-convert ng mga youth teachers din, at ma-bring din nila yung CDNA at yung lahat ng mga values na tinuturo through YOUTeacH dun sa kanilang mga schools, at syempre ma-influence din nila yung kanilang mga co-teachers, colleagues, at kahit mga school heads, dapat ma-influence din nila yung mga school heads. Ayan, so maraming salamat, Kuya Gian. At this point, siguro magkaroon muna tayo ng photo opportunity. So I would like to invite our participants to open your cameras. Magkaroon muna tayo ng photo opportunity with Kuya Gian. Ayan, si Sir Dave. Sir Dave, good morning. Sir Keanu, Sir Remy, Ma'am Shaira, at saka si Sir Christian. Ayan. Sige, let's open our cameras and let's have our photo taken with Kuya Gian. Ayan. Sige. Ayan, Sir Keanu, Miss Shaira. Oh, yeah. Baka na-disconnect. Sige. At the count of 3, ready? 1, 2, 3. Ayan. Another one. Isa pa. Ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ayan. Maraming salamat, Kuya Gian. Thank you po.
Thank you rin, Gab. Thank you, everyone. I will leave na rin in a while, but I'm excited to hear from Gab how this activity turns out.
Thank you, sir.
Ayan. Thank you, Kuya Gian. Ayan, participants, we're done already with our overview with the Launchpad and the EAC-DNA at lahat ng yon, mga experiences din na nangyari during the boot campus related. So at this point, I will be presenting naman yung primer namin for Negros Island. Ano na ba yung estado ng YOUTeacH Philippines Negros Island at saan kami patungo ngayon? So let me share to you my screen. Hopefully po. Ayan, sige, sorry. Sige, let me share my screen. Ayan, so basically after nung bootcamp, ayan ano, those were the 18 regional chapters that was established after the bootcamp at UP Los Baños. And yung national core, yung team na hinihead ni Kuya Gian, sila yung parang talagang naghanap sa amin, no? Citing the term, no, na tinawag kanina ni Kuya Gian, yung kanyang sarili, not a founder but a finder of this diba, dynamic group of teachers who really answered to the call of the EAC-DNA. At isa po yung YOUTeacH Philippines Negros Island. Negros Island region pa that time kasi hindi pa na-dissolve yung NIR that time. So, ito po sila. So, I want you to meet our team. Ayan po kami. 5 po kami. 4 youth teachers, young teachers, and then 1 mentor. So, ipapakilala ko po sa inyo. Ayan. Ito po yung aming mentor, si Ma'am Vic, Maria Victoria Violanda. She is a college professor at Carlos Hilado Memorial State College and a student council advisor. Actually, si Christian, na isa ding participant natin dito sa room, ay ano din, no? Under Miss Vic sa SSG during his stint at CAMC. Ayan, so maestra nga may tagipusoon sa Negros. Yun yung parang aming call sign or nickname, no, or parang 'di ba, parang bansag sa amin during the boot camp. Pangalawa, ito si Cesar Ruel Raimundo, tinatawag naming Pops, no. Siya yung teacherpreneur ng Bacolod. At that time, he was a college teacher sa Riverside College, and pinagsasabay niya yung kanyang business with his vocation of being a teacher, no. Entrepreneur din siya. And na-feature na siya one time sa national television dahil sa kanyang story regarding, di ba, from rags to riches, no? Paano niya naiahon yung kanyang pamilya from the kahirapan, no? From poverty into this mabuting pamumuhay na at this point. And he is connected na, no, with a certain private university in Negros Oriental, kaya siya yung aming Negros Oriental focal person. Nasa kabilang dako po siya ng isla ng Negros. Ayan, si Pops. Next, si Marky, si Mark Brain Young. He is the Chinito Science teacher naman ng Negros. Currently, he is a senior high school teacher sa Colegio San Agustin Bacolod and a recipient of the 10 Outstanding Students of the Philippines. Currently, he's also the national president for the Red Cross Youth. Kaya in hiatus din ngayon si Marky, kasi very busy siya with his responsibilities din kasi napakalaki ng Red Cross Youth na organization din at yung kanilang scope of work, no? And he is our Bacolod area focal person. Next is, ayan, si Binoy, si Kenneth Bacala, the hashtag teacher ng Kabangkalan. He's a public senior high school teacher, an NYLC alumnus, National Young Leaders Congress, legacy camper siya ng Batch 4 Kahayag. And a year ago, he was the provincial representative ng 2030 Youth Force in the Philippines, Incorporated. Pero now, siya na ngayon yung regional convener ng Region 6 Western Visayas Council. Siya naman yung in charge, no, sa Southern Negros nga part. Next, ayan, syempre ako. Si Educado, Joseph Gabriel Educado po yung true name ko. Dakilang gurong manunulat ng Negros. I was a former teacher to the indigenous people dito sa amin sa Silay. I am a proud public elementary school teacher. A cultural worker din. I have worked under the National Commission for Culture and the Arts for certain projects with the Negros Museum at saka sa Negros Cultural Foundation. So we are collaborating with them din and rendering services for these institutions and organizations for cultural work naman for the entire Negros and the Visayan region. I'm the Northern Negros focal person and recently ako po ay naging fellow ng Future Bridging Leaders Program 2 ng Asian Institute of Management Team Energy Center for Bridging Leadership. Ayan. And then, from the core team ng mga alumnus or alumni from the bootcamp, syempre meron kaming bagong recruit. Ayan. Ito yung mga na-influence ko din, no? Syempre, yung aming project lead, Sandro, Yulatic, si Sir Sandro, tinatawag namin siyang si Sands. Former teacher din to the indigenous people. Kasama ko po siya doon sa IP school before. He's a public senior high school teacher, a cultural worker din. Kasama ko po din siya working under NCCA, TNM, at saka NCF. Siya naman po yung special projects focal person ng YOUTeacH Negros Island currently, ano. And he's a project lead for both runs ng Tib-ong Manunudlo last 2019 at ngayon for the virtual or for the digital platform ng Tib-ong Manunudlo 2. Siyempre, ayan, yung aming secretariat in charge for YOUTeacH Philippines Negros Island, si Miss Mary Grace Yulatic, tinatawag namin siyang si Gracia. She's a private senior high school teacher and a college teacher din, no? Cultural worker din. Actually, kaming tatlo ay lahat ay connected with cultural works then here in Negros, with NCCA, TNM, and NCF. Project and events manager po namin siya. At minsan, siya na din nagbansag sa kanyang sarili na alalay daw namin. Kasi lahat ng mga notes, lahat ng mga reminders nanggagaling sa kanya, being the secretariat in charge ng organization. And also, hindi din namin makakalimutan yung mga teacher and youth volunteers na nakasalamuha at na-engage din namin through these advocacies na ginagawa namin. We have public school teachers dito sa picture, sina Ma'am Jerty, ayan, sina Sir Warren, Miss Kisha, Miss Ayan, Miss M, at saka si Sir Tuson. And we also have youth volunteers coming from the Boy Scouts of the Philippines. Ayan, sina Jinro, Rose, at saka si Dirk. Ayan. This was taken during the YOUTeacH for Local Heritage Workshop naman. Ayan, so kanina nga sinabi din ni Kuya Gian yung charter, no? We believe that youth is power. Ayan, we acknowledge that youth is not forever. And we propose to maximize our youth by connecting with each other. And then yung EAC framework na na-mention din ni Kuya Gian kanina, ayan, so EAC yan. Kaya tinawag siya naming EAC dahil it is at the core ng organization ng YOUTeacH Philippines. So advocate for change, elevate core values at collaborating for communities. Ayan. Sige, we will just run through this. Kasi actually, you already underwent the process of elevating, advocating, and collaborating through the simple activity na ni-run kanina ni Kuya Gian. Parang nasurpass pa nung keynote speech yung binigay ni Kuya Gian sa atin. Ito yung excited kong i-share sa inyong lahat, yung advocacies, initiatives, tsaka yung partnerships na nagawa na ni YOUTeacH Negros Island through the years since 2017 sa pagkakatatag nito. Ayan. First of all, yung flagship project talaga namin during the bootcamp was Mission BridCon or Bridging Connections. Ayan. So we started out with the idea that it should be an app-based crowdfunding platform for public schools na kung saan yung public schools pwedeng doon gumawa ng campaigns for the needs, no, ng kanilang school. Ayan. And syempre, online campaigns, no, to raise awareness, support, and funds for causes related to education. And the app is currently in development. Meron kaming tinap na group of students coming from CAMC, from Carlos Hilado Memorial State College. Ito po ay isang grupo ng mga estudyante under Miss Vic Yolanda. They created a prototype application out of this. So it is already in development and hopefully makahanap pa kami ng extra fund just to make sure na maging maayos yung application at maipartner din namin with DepEd and with the local LGU so that yung scope ay hindi lang yung mga schools yung pwede nating tulungan, syempre din yung mga communities. Ayan. So, ito yung hindi rin kami parang na-box din sa idea of delivering support to schools or to teachers or to students through this application. So nagkakaroon din kami ng parang physical bridging missions, no? So una yung pinuntahan ni na Pops at ng kanyang team from Negros Oriental ay ang Lugta Elementary School. Ito ay na-locate sa hinterlands na, no, sa bulubunduking area ng Bayawan in Negros Oriental. And that time parang 'di ba, parang na-damage talaga yung whole school during a typhoon. Kaya nung pumunta sila dito, wala yung mga students sa mga damaged classrooms at nandun sa isang sheltered area. Hindi lang namin nakuha yung documentation from Kuya Pops kasi yung files from the disk na ginamit niya with the camera was lost during the transportation back sa city. Ito lang yung na-transmit niya sa amin. So basically, nakapunta pa siya doon one more time, no, before his group was stopped by the local government unit kasi yung area pala daw ay infested by rebels, by the NPA. So it is life-threatening sa group at kailangan talaga ng police escort, lahat ng ganong mga arrangements. So during his time na bumalik pa siya doon ng one last time, ay nakatulong pa siya doon sa mga students at teachers by providing school supplies at yung mga kailangan pang repair materials para sa bubong at saka doon sa mga walls, no, mga classrooms na nasira. And also we had this bridging mission with Rebecca Miranda from the UNOR JHS Coral. She's the club president that time. I think this was 2 years ago or a year ago. Yung advocacy naman nila is na mapalaganap yung hygiene talaga, no, yung hygiene tsaka sanitation sa mountain schools. And then so they tapped us and then they raised funds para makakuha nung mga items for their hygiene kits and sanitation kits. Nagkaroon din sila ng symposium regarding hygiene, personal hygiene ng mga bata. And yun nga, no, ito ay nangyari sa Sibato Integrated School. As part of that partnership din, nagkaroon din ng parang face-to-face interaction yung mga IP students namin with the choral members. So ayan, nagkukwentuhan, nagsisharing ng experiences. At lastly, yung pinakamaganda, kasi parang Christmas season yon, nagpadala, hindi namin inaasahan na meron palang hinanda yung choral group na ipadala dun sa mga students sa mountain school ng Sibato. So we brought back these gifts for the students, no, coming from the choral members. And also we also engage private businesses, local private businesses sa Silay. And this one is from Destiny, isa siyang snack bar na kilala ko din yung owner kasi classmate ko nung elementary. So she asked me if meron ba akong kilalang group or community or school na pwede nilang tulungan in a way na parang CSR na din ng kanilang business. So eto they revitalized the reading program nung school. They provided books and donated books then. They gathered books from their kakilalas and bought some new books then para ma-supplement pa yung kanilang library na bagong tatag that time. Ayan. So, yung mga engagements namin with the IP community also included parang symposium then or conversation with the IP leaders and the school teachers and the school administration. So this was taken during the IP Day 2017 at yung YOUTeacH Philippines, kasama na din si Sir Sandro, dalawa kami, we moderated that talk, no, yung parang conversations na yan to address issues regarding the cultural and the mainstream education connection, no, ng mga bata at ng mga teachers din at ng community with the school. And fortunately, nagkaroon din ito ng parang magandang result because after that, those reforms na sinuggest nung community at yung mga reforms na sinuggest nung school, no, parang nagkaroon ng consensus, ginawa at syempre, no, it was undertaken by both parties. Kaya right now, confident naman yung YOUTeacH Philippines Negros Island na parang that IP school was in good hands already. And then, ito yung parang maiden project namin, yung YOUTeacH for Local Heritage Workshop. So parang one-day workshop lang siya and aim to revive and deepen teachers' interest on cultural and heritage appreciation and conservation. And also we injected components on localizing SDG-based initiatives. So ito yung mga snapshots during that day. From north to south of the island, meron tayong mga participants that time, no? And this is Keisha, one of the previous regional convener ng Youth Force, nagbibigay ng talk. Meron ding discussions. Sir Ver Pasete, no? We were also fortunate that time na we invited him because he is a two-time national awardee for being the best tourism officer of the Philippines. Ito si Ms. Tanya Lopez, the Executive Director ng the Negros Museum at ng Negros Cultural Foundation, giving a talk on cultural mapping naman. And this is Dr. Florcelita Zamora, giving a talk on collaboration between youth sector and culture-based groups din. Ito po kami, ito yung parang family na din ng YOUTeacH Philippines Negros Island that we convened for YOUTeacH for Local Heritage. Nagkaroon din ng Lead for Hope project. Ayan, si Kenneth naman yung in charge dito. So we engage youth leaders from a certain barangay. So grassroots community yung tinatarget ni Kenneth at in-empower namin through leadership sessions. Ayan. Eto, this was taken in Isabela, Negros Occidental. Ito talaga yung pinaka-grassroots kasi youth leaders ito ng isang purok doon sa isang hacienda. And ito yung kanilang moderator. So, Kuya Warren, yung YOUTeacH member din natin doon, invited us, ayan, si Ms. Keisha at ako, to empower this group of young leaders. No? Ito yung mga kabataang ito, to really lead yung mga advocacies ng kanilang hacienda, ng kanilang purok doon sa hacienda na yun. And then Kenneth also has a project on pagbasa, no? May pag-asa sa pagbasa. It is a volunteer-based community service initiative in Southern Negros naman that focuses on the development of the reading capacities and skills of children, no? Through storytelling, reading tutorials, and values formation sessions. So, yung parang passion project naman ito ni Kenneth, ayan yung mga kanyang volunteers, mostly mga students niya yan, mga young youth leaders. Ito yung mga bata. Ayan, yung kanilang in-engage dyan. And then recently, through the Asian Institute of Management, Team Energy Center, tsaka yung Future Bridging Leaders Program, we were able to craft Payag Kahirop. Yung Payag Kahirop is a social venture naman that focuses on empowering IP women of Sibato Bukidnon tribal community through capacity building sessions, product development, tsaka tech-based marketing. So yun yung parang tinuturo namin dun sa mga nanay, how to handle, di ba? How to handle products, paano pa siya i-develop from the raw materials. And then, naging partner namin yung school. So yung mga teachers ay kaagapay namin sa pagtuturo dun sa mga nanay on how to really, di ba? How to make something out of the raw materials that they have. Para ma-uplift nila yung kanilang sarili, magkaroon sila ng sariling business nila, meron silang pagkakakitaan, at maiahon nila ng pakonti-konti yung kanilang pamilya from poverty at saka sa gutom, no? Or hunger. So ito yung process nun. Ayan, gumawa yung community or yung IP women ng Atsara, and then the what you call this, the Taro Jam, na we are very proud na kami yung parang social venture na kauna-unang gumawa nun, and then Taro Chips also. So ito yung process na yan. And then we were able to have it pitched, no, during the last day of the fellowship program. And ayan, so nagkaroon tayo ng mga partners, and fortunately nasa third year na running yung project na yon. And after this third year ay pwede nang umalis si YOUTeacH Philippines Negros Island kasi alam na ni YOUTeacH Philippines Negros Island na kaya ng patakbuhin ng community yung Payag Kahirop. So ito po yung family ng Payag Kahirop together with the community leaders, yung mga elders, yung mga kabataan, yung mga teachers, at yung team ng YOUTeacH Philippines. Nagkaroon din ng discussion, naimbitahan din tayo with an FGD discussion with NCCA. At syempre, yung Tib-ong Manunudlo, ito yung first run. We had workshops for teachers, no? Teaching the contemporary arts in the region. Yan, no? Sa dance, sa visual arts, tsaka sa creative writing. At ito yung kauna-unahang class of 2019 ng Tib-ong Manunudlo. So on what we can do, syempre, be inquisitive lang, no? Magtanong tayo. Huwag mahihiyang magtanong. Stop apathy. Ibig sabihin, makialam tayo, no? We have to be empathetic with our communities, with the people who are undergoing certain problems, who are into that societal issue. So stop apathy, but be empathetic. Okay, take up a cause, something that is worth fighting for. So parang aside from being a teacher, aside from being a youth leader, dapat meron ka pang cause or advocacy na ipinaglalaban mo that is worth fighting for. At make your craft as a platform to create safe spaces for conversations. Para, diba, yung differences natin, ma-resolve natin, and that magkaroon tayo ng consensus, and at the same time, magkakaintindihan, and we could create something out of those conversations then. Influence and empower others. Ito yung parang nangyari din sa amin, sa YOUTeacH Philippines. So we influence and empower each of us, no? In the team, in the regional core, and even at the national level. So be the message that you want to bring into the world. Ayan. So definitely sa lahat ng mga ginagawa natin, dapat maging role model tayo. Yung parang yung mission talaga natin is to really bring about a positive change sa mga communities, and not just for, di ba, para for Facebook lang or Instagram post, but we are doing this just to really answer that issue that you are trying to put solution forth to. Ayan, ito yung si Daryl Passion, si teacher Daryl. She just shared that we should skip telling our kids to dream high, kasi para sa kanya mas maigi na ikintal natin sa isipan ng mga kabataan na mas na mangarap tayo ng malalim. Okay, we have to dream deeply kasi dreaming high is somehow, 'di ba, parang napaka-cliche, 'di ba? And then if hindi mo maiabot yung pangarap mo, parang, 'di ba, ang laking dagok nun para sa bata. However, kapag we are dreaming deeper, mas malalim yung pinaghuhugutan. Hindi lang tayo nagpapakadalubhasa sa isang subject or sa isang bukasyon or sa isang profession para lang, 'di ba, maka-earn ng money. It is also for us to really, help our country, and through our profession we could change the lives of other people too. So what if it only takes one word to change the world, or one word to create a better world? So mangarap ka ng malalim, dream deeply mga bes, para sa kabataan at para sa bayan. And together, let's elevate, advocate, and collaborate. So madamong salamat, and that is YOUTeacH Philippines, Negros Island. So if you want to follow us on Facebook, it's youteach.negros, and we are also on Instagram. So YOUTeacH Negros. Sulong padayon, everybody. Maraming salamat. Ayan, Sir Sandro. Are you still in, Sir Sandro?
Yes, Sir Gab.
Ayan. Sige, Sir Sandro. Thank you very much. And Sir Dave, okay ka pa ba dyan? Okay pa. Sige, so si Christian, Sir Remy, Sir Dave, at saka si Ms. Shaira. Sir Sands, this will be the last part na of our plenary session. This is just a small group discussion na lang din. A small group or small workshop for all of us. So parang intimate, so let's be informal. And if you have questions, you can only, or you could post it on our chat box, or you could turn on your mics. Ayan, Sir Sands, it's your turn para naman sa NCCA backgrounder. A little bit of something from the NCCA naman.
So I will just talk about NCCA and why it exists and kung kailan siya nag-exist na part ng Philippine government, at para malaman na rin natin kung sino yung nag-sponsor sa atin sa workshop na to. So NCCA, or the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, is a government ayan, government office, sa government office na uh, sila yung nangangasiwa ng kagawaran ng kultura at mga sining ng Pilipinas. So hopefully, pag na-show ko to yung video na to, may maririnig kayo dyan. Sir Gab, may sound? Just wait. Okay, kung wala sound,
Hello, Sir Sands. Not yet. Ayan.
May sound.
Wala. Nag-stop.
Wala, sir.
So I will
Loading
just,
pa.
I will just
Nag-load
use na
pa.
lang the video sa YouTube. Wala hindi sound sir. Because okay. I will share na lang the video sa YouTube. Papakita ko lang yung video na to tungkol sa NCCA para mas maintindihan natin yung NCCA kumpara sa i-explain ko lang kung ano sila kasi yung video na to ay kanilang ABP na pinipresent talaga sa tuwing may workshop para ipaalam kung sino yung NCCA or ano yung NCCA. Nakikita, Sir Gab?
Yes, Sir Sands, pero wala sound.
Wait lang ka, Sir Gab. Kaya medyo loud siya before mo.
Nag-sound ka, so...
Gasang ka, sir, ka utod-utod. Gamamon, sir.
Sans, maybe I can view it na lang. Ako na lang ma-share.
Ikaw na lang, Sir, kay binaanga po ng internet.
Sige. Okay.
Thank you, Sir Gab. Ang English version.
Okay, Sir San, no problem.
Naigid ng connection ni Sir Gab.
This is the English version, Sir Dave. Ang ginapakita ko sa inyo.
Behold the Filipino imagination. The wellspring of creativity and expression of a people bonded together by a common past. A limitless source of inspired thoughts and feelings that nourish the people's sense of pride and identity as a nation. Imagination is the soul of a people's culture and art. The boundless energy that transcends time and events and allows itself to be molded into an instrument of greatness. It is towards this vision of a nation united and empowered by culture and arts. The National Commission for Culture and the Arts was created. recognized as the policy-making institution that coordinates national efforts to promote culture and arts. The NCCA conserves Filipino heritage, preserves tradition, and integrates it into the cultural mainstream, promotes artistic development, and disseminates products of art and culture nationwide and beyond. Formerly known as the Presidential Commission for Culture and the Arts, the NCCA became a national commission under the Office of the President through Republic Act No. 7356, signed on April 3, 1992. As a lead government agency for culture, it administers and coordinates the activities of its 6 attached cultural agencies: the National Museum, the National Library of the Philippines, the National Historical Commission of the Philippines, the Cultural Center of the Philippines, the National Archives of the Philippines, and the Commission on the Filipino Language. It likewise administers the National Endowment Fund for Culture and the Arts, or NEFCA, established to support art and cultural programs of the country. The NCCA is governed by a Board of Commissioners, composed of 11 representatives of the legislative and executive branches of the government and 4 representatives from the private sector. Fulfilling the NCCA's mission to conserve heritage, the Subcommission on Cultural Heritage works with the 6 national committees on archives, art galleries, historical research, libraries and information services, monuments and sites, as well as museums. The Subcommission on Cultural Communities and Traditional Arts takes charge of preserving and integrating traditions in 3 national committees representing the Northern Cultural Communities, Central Cultural Communities, and the Southern Cultural Communities. The Subcommission on the Arts gathers together the 7 national committees on architecture, cinema, dance, dramatic arts, literary arts, music, and visual arts. Finally, ensuring the nationwide promotion of art and culture, the Subcommission on Cultural Dissemination combines the 3 national committees on communication, cultural education, and language and translation, taking charge of the daily operations and implementation of plans approved by the Commission. Is the Secretariat, headed by the NCCA Executive Director. Today, the NCCA takes on the challenge of the new millennium with a new symbol of greatness, the Alam ng Haraya logo, dedicated, forward-looking, united in purpose. Behold the Filipino imagination, the burning flame of creativity that reflects the immense passion and greatness emanating from every cultural product crafted and preserved by the Filipino people. Is the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, keeping the flame of imagination forever burning for today's empowering Filipino.
Okay, guys. That is the AVP of the National Commission for Culture and the Arts. So, actually, the whole AVP have already discussed what is NCCA, how it established, when it started, why is it existing until today, and how they help disseminate the culture and the arts. Maybe nagkakatingala ka mo why we are showing you the NCCA video, and why we are having NCCA primer. It is because our sponsor actually for this webinar workshop, or the grant of the webinar workshop, actually came from the NCCA. Okay, it's because supposed to be the Tib-ong Manunudlo supposed to be given to the participants face to face, and there is already really a workshop that will exist on arts, dance, and creative writing. But since we are in the webinar workshop, what happened is it was given in other weeks na. Pag nauna na actually si visual arts, and then last week may art dance and storytelling. And but for you guys asking na why is it nga si NCCA na gabulig sa aton through disseminating this culture and arts, because they are actually the office of the president that helping us establish the culture and the arts sa aton Philippine culture. Sila ang establish ang government para mag-help na sa disseminate. And maybe natingala ka mo why is it nga the youth development na workshop na upod sa Tib-ong Manunudlo workshop. It's because actually it is our plan, the group na organize ang Tib-ong Manunudlo nga workshop nga to include the youth development, because as you have seen, we are an organization called YOUTeacH. We are actually wanted to establish an organization wherein the young teachers can help each other. So we are actually targeting also the youth sector, that also to think something makabulig sa aton country, at the same time sa community nila. And I will not discuss further about NCCA. I will just share about the mandate of the NCCA. Kung nga gabulig sila sa aton about the workshop. Okay. So what is the mandate, the NCCA mandate? Why is it helping us to have this workshop? So because NCCA wanted to encourage the continuing and balanced development of pluralistic culture by the people themselves, and also to conserve and promote and protect the nation's historical and cultural heritage. So mamang ko tanga youth sector kami nga kag nga youth development ni siya nga workshop nga nag-help ang NCCA with this one, because wala labot nga may nauna na nga tatlo nga workshop about culture and arts. Also, NCCA believe na the preserving of the culture and the arts and the heritage must actually start also with the youth. Kay kamo nga mga kabataan, well, actually the one sa ulihi na mabilin kag ma-promote and protect sini. So part of the discussion nga mo on ni Sir Gab is he will relate siguro the sustainable development goal na gusto sang United Nations to the culture. So maybe one of the topic ni Sir Gab na siya. Kay we are not only developing the youth but also wanted to preserve the culture and heritage of our country. To ensure another mandate is to ensure the widest dissemination of artistic and cultural products among the greatest number of people across the country overseas for their appreciation and enjoyment. Also in CCA, nagpati sila nga na ang culture is evolving actually. And amo na siya nga gusto Manila nga ang mga youth sector ginalabot naton. So to preserve and integrate traditional culture and its various creative expression as dynamic part of the national cultural mainstream, and also to ensure that standards of excellence are pursued in programs and activities implementing policies are instated, which shall encourage and support continuing discussion, debate through symposia, workshop, publication, etc., and the highest norms available in the matrix of Philippine culture. But this is the new culture. Ang tao makinitanay through web. So maybe this can also help nga ang through web mangin mangin aware of our culture and preservation. So
Ayan, thank you very much, Sir Sandro, for giving to us the backgrounder on the NCCA through the help of that video din, no, parang shorten din natin yung ating discussion. So thank you very much, Sir Sandro. And it's already 11:47. Just a final and quick reminders na lang, participants, to Ms. Shaira, to Sir Dave, to Sir Christian, and to Sir Remy, na this afternoon, please prepare like parang bond papers if meron kayo, or kahit na anong klaseng papel, your markers or pens, tsaka if you have coloring materials, you could also have it near you lang, because we will have some activities that we will be doing this afternoon as part of our preparation for the main topics tomorrow. Ayan, so we will see